Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Pow Bam Zing. My name is Carl, and today we are going to be asking the question, what is the Google Stadia? As the Google Stadia isn't really a piece of hardware, it's a piece of software with a few caveats. Basically, it's an app that one plays games through. How does that work? Well, the player would open the app, use any compatible controller. Stadia's websites list the PlayStation 4 controller and Xbox One controller as examples, but seems to indicate that more controllers will be compatible. And then control the app, whether that be one's phone, one's TV, or computer, using this controller or keyboard and mouse. The app would then open a game of the player's choice on a computer located somewhere in a server rack far from your home and get you right into the game. There would be no download times and no disk because the game that you're playing has already been downloaded. It's just on Google's computer, not yours. The machine with the app installed, your machine with the app installed communicates your controller inputs over the internet to the server running your game and then sends the necessary information back to your TV, tablet, computer, or whatever you have in enough time for you to not even know the difference. Supposedly. The problem with this, for those who can't yet see this potential issue, is lag. When playing high-speed games such as first-person shooters or fighting games like Mortal Kombat, a lag of 20 to 30 milliseconds or arguably less can cost you the game. The Steam Link, which I don't know if any of you remember that, which was seemingly far ahead of its time, would add 15 to 25 milliseconds locally wired over the same network as the computer playing the game with a gigabit internet connection or a local connection. How much longer would the Stadia need to connect to a server thousands or hundreds of miles away to reverb that communication to your screen 60 times a second? The answer is less than you might think, and the fact that Google tells that they will be able to provide a 4K 60Hz experience means that they might have a few tricks up their sleeve, but the skepticism remains, and for good reason. Cloud-based games have been around for a bit, but haven't really stuck for this reason. If Google can fix the input lag problem that has plagued playing games over the cloud for the past couple of years, then they might have jumped the highest hurdle. The next few hurdles are ones that we, the gamers, might have to overcome and bear if this style of gaming really does come into fruition. Google is an influencer developer, meaning they have the budget and the audacity to try something new and really throw tons of money behind it. If it doesn't work, then fine. But if it does and it works brilliantly, then other companies in the same arena are going to imitate their work. This doesn't sound bad. But think about the ramifications of an all-digital gaming future, which could happen within the next generation of consoles. I don't think it's going to happen with this generation because they've already been developed and not much is going to change. But the next generation could be affected, and it's already sort of happening with the new Xbox One, which was recently released, and it was a version with no disk drive. Many games are being sold digitally and downloaded without any need to go to a physical store whatsoever, and this is super convenient. However, this also means and foretells the decline of used game sales and offline play. When there are no more discs to buy, that means that there will be no more discs to sell used and trade in to get a few more bucks down on the next game. And there will be no more renting from local stores or red boxes, no more giving your copy of Spider-Man to a buddy because he has a PlayStation that he can play it on too. All that will be gone. There's some serious ramifications we might have to accept if we as gamers are so willing to adopt a fully digital future. The next problem is online gaming naturally requires an online connection. But what about the single-player games that don't need an online connection? I just finished playing the entire Dragon Age series and Mass Effect series, and neither of them required online connections. And I've played countless games without the need to connect to the internet because they are completely local. I can play them whenever I want because I have the whole game downloaded on my hard drive. On a plane, on a bus, train, or a bad coffee shop without any Wi-Fi, any of these situations would be impossible with the Google Stadia unless you count on using your phone data as an internet connection, sort of like using a Wi-Fi hotspot. And I'm sorry guys, but my phone data is far too valuable to waste on that. I submit that if the Stadia does well due to its cost and connectability, we might be witnessing the last of untethered gaming. God forbid someone knocks out your Verizon box by the road with a riding lawnmower, and you won't be able to play games for a week until that's fixed, because you have to be connected to a Google server somewhere. On the plus side, however, the Stadia is making gaming compatible to people in an economic class that have never known gaming like this before. At $120, the Founders Edition setup comes with 4K Chromecast and a Stadia controller, along with 3 months of Stadia Pro, which is a subscription service for you and a friend, and some gamer tag incentives and free game incentives as well. But that's sort of a bit silly because the Stadia is available to everyone in app form for free come later this year or early next. All the Founders Edition does is give you Google's streaming dongle and allows you to stream games at 4K instead of 1080, which admittedly is a nice boost. But the bundle of hardware incentives in Google's smart dongle will not be worth the somewhat steep $120 price point for a controller. And with almost all our TVs already having Google's own smart Android capability, all that dongle really is a key to unlocking 4K game streaming. And when you can play Stadia with controllers you already love and are familiar with, I can't see people paying $120 before it's even released for their Founders Edition pre-order of something they can try for free with the app on any device. The hardware behind all this isn't cheap, meaning the hardware on the server on Google's side, and we'll never see any of that, at least not personally. But it's not exactly what I would call pure gaming material. There is an AMD Vega GPU powering the graphics, which is no slouch, and a hyper-threaded, presumably Intel if they use hyper-threaded in the description on their website. That processor only clocks in at 2.7 gigahertz though, which is normal for a server, but not so much for a gaming PC, which processors can clock as high as 5 gigahertz. Games typically like higher clocks on processors rather than threads, and servers are the complete opposite of that. They like more threads, and not necessarily they like lower clocks, but they're not as bothered by it. But since Google can't have thousands of desktop PCs running in their warehouse, server racks and server CPUs will have to do. Those servers, though, run all of this on the Vulkan API, as far as I know, and according to Stadia's website, which plays very well with AMD graphics cards. Nice, seeing as how those are the ones that they have in their servers. Google claims that an internet connection of only 10 megabits per second is enough to play 720 at 60 frames per second, meaning 720p, the resolution. But to even advertise 720p as a usable resolution in 2019 is a little ridiculous in my opinion. 35 megabits per second is what you would need to get the full 4K experience, and 20 megabits per second for 1080p. This puts 4K gaming well within my limits, but I live in a metropolitan area fortunate enough to have fiber internet, and most people in this country and others who might live in more rural areas aren't so lucky. We'll see how conservatively they made their values when it releases. Stadia Pro, which, like I said before, is a subscription service, is also going to run side by side with the release of the Founders Edition and the Google Stadia, and it has access to game titles, discounts to games that you could potentially buy through the service, and other benefits. If the Founder Edition is pre-ordered, then 3 months are free. If not, then it will be $10 a month. This will probably work much like PlayStation Plus and Xbox Gold does, and I think even Nintendo has their own subscription service now. So I appreciate you guys hanging out while we wrap up what is and what really isn't a new console from Google. I'm excited, but also a little trepid to see what kind of success comes from their product and how it may shape the future of gaming. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree in the comments below. I would love to hear from you, and I'll catch you all next time on Pow Bam Zing.